Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast, recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois with Matt and Amy. Welcome to episode 70 for December 5th, 2023.
Well, hello there, children. Welcome back to your Judgment Free Zone, your freak show that is the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. And now that we changed up that intro a little bit, Amy, I forget about the freak show, because the freak show is part of the other intro that we've used historically. So let us know if you like the new intro. Coach Amy, how are you, my love?
I'm adding one more thing to the show notes.
We don't allow updates once the show is already in motion. Please remain seated with your hands and feet inside the ride at all times. No edits will be allowed. But she still does. So anyway.
Sorry, I had to add that in. It's very important.
If you're watching on the YouTubes, again, we are glad that cameras don't have peripheral vision because
exactly.
Our son has been
with us, and it's been great.
It has. It's been really great. But his room is also the podcast studio. But I've come more to think of it as the podcast studio, not his rooms. When he comes home, it really...
No,
what do we say? Harsher's my mellow.
I never say that. I never say that. I've never said that. And I'm going to bet that most of our listeners are not saying it.
Harshes are mellow.
Are mellow. What is that?
I don't know. That's an old-timey fun thing.
It is? I've never heard of that.
Amy, you got to keep it like camp. We just learned about camp.
Camp? Okay.
Camp.
I'm going to camp.
No, camp. You know, for those of you who have Gen Zers in the house, camp, it's like, I consider like campy, I think. But I don't know. Google it yourself. I'm not going to get into it because I don't feel like I understand it myself.
I don't feel qualified.
I'm not qualified.
I'm not qualified.
But we know we are qualified to tell you about our 7 tips that helped us in our AF journey. So you can go beyond.
It's called Beyond Spirits. We've renamed. We've revamped.
So go to joytheotherSide.com and you can check out Beyond Spirits, 7 tips that started our AF journey.
Exactly. And then remember, upcoming, the Alcohol-Free Spirit Experiment. It starts January 7th with Coach Suzanne Nissen and I. We're super excited.
The original Doublemint twins right there.
You've got it. She's amazing. I just want to put that shout out to my friend. And but we're excited because it's the beginning of the year. And it's not going to start on January 1st. Because I would never start anything on January 1st. So we go with how we would start something. It's actually going to start on January 7th, and we start with the pause. And the pause means you don't have to quit drinking. And then we actually start the experiment the following week. So we want you to have a little bit of time to get prepared mentally. And so we're excited about that.
But if you really want to, you can sober pregame, start on the 1st, stop drinking then.
Exactly.
It's going to probably be easy if you're hungover from New Year's Eve, you know? So,
But also, this is where we incorporate our faith into our taking a break from alcohol journey. So we've got that. So Matt.
I love leading transitions to you. It's always so much fun. We've had our children in the house.
You didn't even let me go with it.
No, because you just go so mad, and then I don't know where you're going, and my inner monologue can't handle the uncertainty of what you're going to say, so I just take control of it's like this horse that's running away down the... I don't want to die of dysentery in the Oregon Trail.
So anyways, the kids are in and out right now. Luke's going to be... The room is going to... become the podcast studio again.
We had both of them home for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Luke extended his stay before he heads off across the pond, literally.
He's going.
Maggie comes back from school, so we'll have about a week, close to a week, and that will be exactly a week now that he's leaving tomorrow. Of back to the empty nester life that we've become very accustomed to.
I know.
Cooking food for multiple people, more than the two of us,
and the multiple dishes and just the scheduling around. They're gonna use the laundry. Okay,
it's like, why am I waiting for my laundry?
So last week, somehow I think we missed getting our laundry.
We missed our turn
because I did so much laundry today. I'm like, how did we miss this? But anyways, it's been awesome. It has been to have him here. Yep. We've had a lot of great conversations. We had a wonderful little trip down to my parents' house, and that was...
He got 3rd place in his bodybuilding show or competition.
That was really exciting. We forgot to talk about that last week, but all on his own. No trainer. Just no one to help him with the nutrition side. He researched it. His body became literally his science project.
Yep.
And he has been eating nonstop since.
Yeah, he needs to leave because I can't afford the grocery bill. He eats as much as you and I combined, I think.
I know, it's crazy.
It's insane.
But that was really a lot of fun. And it's really been nice to have him here. And then he's going to be back for a brief stint around the holidays. And
after he gets back from over the pondage. And so there you go. Well, we have an awesome interview coming up here in just a hot second. But before we do that, let's get to our drink of the week. Amy, you have the hard to find, but always cherished by everyone who ever finds it.
Yeah, the Santa Clausthaler, right?
Well, it's by Clausthaler.
Oh.
Is the beer brand.
But it says Santa.
Well, I know. It's their Santa Clausthaler. It's a holiday brew.
Yes, it's so good.
Because they have 2 other non-alcoholic ones.
Oh my goodness, guys.
But the holiday...
it's the limited edition, and we only have 2 left.
Well, you got the last... Well, at the time we went to Benny's, we got the last 2.
And that was before Thanksgiving.
Or the last 6-pack. And I said, and he goes, well, maybe I'm going to get it because it won't be around.
It's so good.
It's like
so
I'm not going
to have it.
So she didn't open it. I go,
I'm saving it. I'm going to savor it.
And I have something that's very not holiday. It's Golden Road's mango cart.
That is so good.
Yes. And my guess is I haven't looked online because I bought this in a store.
That was on your trip.
Yeah. In Iowa, I picked this up. But I don't know if this it feels seasonal. It's super good. The mango cart.
Super.
Yes, super
duper.
Top of the line. Good. But we will, before the next podcast, Amy, I want to at least try the tequila. That new NA tequila.
Oh, I know. And we have the limoncello.
But I really want to test that with my family because they like limoncello, like the real lemon, and to kind of see like, hey, what do you think?
They're not going to like it.
No,
there's not going to be the burn.
I don't know how you do limoncello NA, but
I know.
We'll see. Without it being just like lemon juice.
Here's the thing that happened. We had over Thanksgiving, like your mom got me that Gießen champagne,
which was one of our drinks of the week last time.
Oh, was it? I'm sorry.
No, but it's good.
So good,
it's
guys. I mean, we need to put that on our list. I think we need to get a couple of bottles of that.
Matt and Amy's most recommended.
Oh my goodness, was it good?
Got to be one.
So good. Okay.
All right, Amy, tell me about Rebecca.
All right. So we interviewed a while back.
It's been a minute, yes.
It's been a minute, but we interviewed Rebecca Guevara Wingler. And she is an artist, a creative life coach, an alcohol freedom coach as well. And she is a podcaster. And she is, by all means, she is a true artist. I mean, I've seen her work. She does all these projects and does these, she does these great online creative healing Zoom calls that she does. And I'm probably not expressing this correctly at all.
Don't worry, links will be below where you can find the real words.
Yes, but she has been immersed in this artistic journey, and she uses art as her medium of expression. And in midlife, she began questioning her relationship with alcohol after decades drinking. Wow, does that not sound familiar?
Yeah, right?
Over the years, she realized that alcohol was the one thing that was getting her through life's challenges, heartache, and disappointments that most face. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump into the interview, and we will put her links and everything. I really, really hope that you enjoy this interview. She is a delightful person, and I just am. We are here with Rebecca Guevara Wingler, and she is a friend of mine and a fellow This Naked Mind coach. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you. I'm really excited to be here, Amy, and to see you again and be able to chat with you. It's been a little while.
It has. And I just we'll just start kind of how we always do. If you want to just tell everybody where you're from, a little bit about yourself, if you have a family, and then we'll just kind of just dive into your story.
Sure. So my story around alcohol started when I was quite young. And I think like so many young people, I was curious. And I first experimented with alcohol very young. I don't even know if I was a teen. I think I was in between 12 and 13, middle school. I remember that. And at that time, it was a pretty happy-go-lucky kid. I was raised with 3 brothers, so I was quite a tomboy. And we were born one right after the other. And I was the second, and then 2 younger brothers. But in middle school, so my brothers were always involved in sports and things like that. And so I was more, tap and dance and cheerleading and all those kind of fun things. But there was a slumber party in middle school where it was a very good friend, and I really, really wanted to go. And there were about 7 girlfriends that were invited to this slumber party. And my mom said I could go. And that night, somewhere, a 6-pack of beer showed up. Now, I grew up in a home where there was no alcohol in the home. My parents didn't drink. So I really didn't have any kind of idea around alcohol other than it was, I'd gotten the message that it was bad or whatever, but that probably came from, church or, because we were a family who went to church on Sundays. But I had no concept of what this stuff was. Other than in middle school, I was curious. I've always been a curious kid and adult, and a little bit of a rebel. And when that beer showed up, I wanted to drink it. I knew that I was going to be one of the girls that drank it. And so we did. And I remember that at first, you get that feeling of, I think I was probably a little anxious because these were kind of like the popular and you want to, be, and then because I had an older brother, they were already in high school and there were those friends. And then, people were starting to already kind of, go to concerts. And I grew up in Los Angeles, in Southern California. So anyway, I remember that feeling of feeling warm and fuzzy and kind of good and happy. And the only thing I can think of now is I thought I felt comfortable in my skin, where maybe I wasn't comfortable in my skin before I was numbing, but I didn't, you don't realize everything that's going on.
Sure.
The next thing I know is I'm sick and really sick, like throwing up, crawling, can't even walk. And yeah, it was really bad because we're little girl, you can't, how are you going to, and I remember they were those huge Old English 101, which is probably like, I don't know, because even when I drank, I wasn't really a beer drinker, but I think those are really strong, right? And really big, really tall, big cans.
Oh.
So the next morning, like I can't remember anything other than being really sick and feeling awful and dizzy and the room spinning. I don't even probably slept on, who knows where I conked out. The next thing I remember is my mom picking us up because my little cousin went with me. Well, we were the same age. We were both in 7th grade. And I was so sick. And of course, it's Sunday and we have to go to church. And as I was getting in the back seat, I remember feeling like I was going to throw up because, probably the worst hangover, but not knowing what in the heck was going on. Anyway, that's my first experience with alcohol. You would think it would have taught me a lesson, but about a year later or two, around 15, I was it was summer and I was at a beach house in Orange County at Huntington Beach with a friend, and we were staying at a beach house, summer vacation. So I was with her family. And then, so now we're 10th graders, I guess. And the adults went out for dinner and we raided the liquor cabinet. And I remembering what had happened, but I also remembered that fuzziness and thinking that would feel good right about now. I just won't I'll just be careful or whatever I thought. Who knows what I was thinking? You're not thinking, you're a kid. And you know what we did? We emptied shampoo bottles and we took a little bit of, I don't even know what it was, because remember, I wasn't raised around alcohol, poured a little bit of each one so they wouldn't notice. So you can imagine what we poured into a shampoo bottle, a little bit of every color hard liquor, and drank it. Sick again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's this weird thing. And so then in high school, so throughout high school, it was always around. So it was always around after football games, at every kind of dance or whatever. Easy to get around, and always have a little, always take, what you think is the edge off. Feel like you belong again. All of those things. I was going to say, I remember as a little girl being at a wedding one time at a reception. And since I was never around alcohol, I remember those gorgeous fountains, those champagne fountains.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so glitzy, right? And just being mesmerized visually with all the different little, spigots of champagne coming out, and watching adults come with these really pretty glasses and filling it up. And I wanted to do that.
Yeah, because it looks like fun. And look at it. It's this whole big activity.
And everybody's happy coming over there to get this pretty pink bubbly in this pretty glass. Mm-hmm. It's just so funny. You have these flashbacks of messages that you're given. So then again, young adulthood into early parenthood, because I became a mom in my early 20s, but say from about 19 through before that, through like 21, there was art school, there was working, there was partying, there was going out clubbing. I was in the art scene and the music scene. So what wasn't around, and alcohol was always my go-to.
Got it.
And there were plenty of times, I think about driving all around Los Angeles. I cannot believe that I was never, well, actually, it's not true. One time I actually did get pulled over, and I cannot believe that I was not, that I was allowed to drive off.
Wow.
Because I was very, very, very intoxicated. But the other thing was, I was so oblivious to the nature of alcohol, that it's an addictive. I remember in the 90s, by the 90s, when I was in my 30s, I had children that were in elementary school, and drinking wasn't an everyday thing for me when my kids were young. But when I did drink, I tended to binge.
Okay.
Looking back now, I would drink way more than, I don't even know why, but that was my thing. And it was causing issues because, well, I could see why. I mean, it's kind of scary when somebody binge drinks. You tend to lose yourself, but I never thought I had a problem. And everybody drank, all my friends or people that I associated with drank pretty much the way I did. I never had a rock bottom. I never lost work. None of that. But I was using it. And now I know this, Amy, like you do, because we both have been through the journey. We both have, become certified alcohol-free coaches, and we understand the nature. We understand how really tricky alcohol is. And so I had no idea that it was addictive. Number one, I knew that heroin and cocaine and all those other things were, but I never thought alcohol was. And I also thought red wine was good for my heart and that it had antioxidants. And of course, I loved reading up all of that. And so let me see, have I missed anything here? So,
You know,
yeah,
Rebecca,
I think
that's a great your point about I was oblivious to the addiction part. That also speaks to the and those watching on the YouTube video right now, you'll notice it's a disembodied Matt. I'm not with Amy. But that's something we noticed on the vape documentary too, right? Like they pitched this to the kid as cool and fun and fancy, and then we talked about the addictive nature of nicotine. Same thing with alcohol, right? Shiny champagne thing, and this makes me feel good, but nobody ever anywhere, they may say don't drink, but nobody says because it's addictive, right? They just say
right,
right. Or a bridge someday, right? So that's like those are things that you never really.
yeah, and all these hidden messages, how pretty, it's a little, as a visual person that loves, I'm just drawn to it. The other thing, Matt, as a kid, I remember riding my bike around the corner. There was a liquor store that's where we would go get our gum and candy and soda and everything. And I can remember at Christmas time, now in Southern California, it's still not cold at Christmas time. You can still ride your bikes around. The gorgeous advertisements that I would see in the windows of these stores with the bow around the gorgeous bottle of scotch. And my eyes were just like, what is that? And then the gorgeous, glamorous lady, in the champagne glass, and there's some adoring man and it's like, what is all this stuff? You're just getting all these messages. Can't wait till you're grown up and you can have pretty drinks and have adoring people and look, right? It's all BS.
Yeah.
You're a kid. What do you know? You're just getting messages sent. Oh, and in exotic parts of the world too.
And you're talking about that packaging, and we are coming up into, like getting closer to the holiday season. And if you think about it, when you go into the stores and you see the displays for alcohol, it looks like a toy. I mean, it's all packaged up. Here's the scotch, here's 2 cups, and here's something that goes with it, and just all of these things. And look at this. It's like a big an adult Christmas present. Let's go home and we all we can open it up and have our
I know it's crazy.
I didn't even think about that until right now, having that you bring that up.
Yeah, or a big beautiful perfume bottle. It's like a big beautiful.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I wanted to say, I know you were talking about the binge drinking, and so was it more like, okay, on the weekends, like, okay, it's time for me to let down, like we're gonna go out? Because I know that's the way I drank when I was in my 30s and my kids were smaller. It was definitely I didn't drink every day then, and it was like, oh, okay, we're gonna go out and I'm gonna have a great time.
Exactly. It was never with the intention that I was going to sip a glass of wine.
That sounds familiar. That totally, I mean, that was exactly the way I was until there was a certain point where I was so sick that I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. And I remember being one of these I remember thinking, like, if I was at wherever, we were all sitting around having wine and it's time to go. And if, somebody was leaving this much of wine in their wine glass, I was like having a hard time asking if could I finish it? Like I knew it might not be polite, but it's like, who leaves wine in their wine glass? This was my mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it. This was when I haven't gotten to that part, because in my 30s and 40s, the wine thing hadn't really happened for me yet. This was in the 90s. I was probably, when I drank, I think I was drinking vodka.
Okay.
Vodka with whatever.
Okay.
Or vodka by itself, or vodka with just a splash of something.
Okay. Got it.
And this is another crazy thing. I think in my 30s and 40s, we were looking for lower calorie if you were going to drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, isn't this crazy? Like, all the wrong reasons we're thinking about the things, not what's the best nutritious thing, what's the thing that's going to, no, it's like, well, if we're going to go out and have fun, we need to, because we've got all these ideas too, just like crazy ideas about alcohol. We have a lot of crazy ideas about body image and women and aging and all of that. So I think it all kind of goes together.
Oh, I remember that too. Like, I remember in the 90s not eating. Like I would eat a little bit, but you had to
count the calories for the
counting all your food. You were counting, so you would eat. I remember eating lettuce and salads and stuff like that, nothing basically. And then you would drink in the evening, but you drank your calories.
I mean, so anybody listening to us girls, I call girls anybody under 50. Get smart about this. So anyway, when I found myself in our 50s, and Michael and I have been married for 38 years, so he's been through this journey with me. And he's my second husband. I have a son from a very brief first marriage when I was quite young, and then our daughter, and they're 40 and 37. I can't even keep them straight. So I'm 64 now. Yeah. So we were young parents. We were empty nesters, quite young, I think, right at around the 50-ish age. And we decided, let's do something fun. And we left California. And we bought some land in Texas. And we had this adventure. And we moved right into the Texas Hill Country wine country. And everything was about dinner and wine pairing. And I jumped in with both feet, and wine was my new thing.
Gosh.
And I remember we used to share a bottle at the beginning. And then it felt like, time goes on, before you know it, you're kind of opening up that second bottle, and now they're both gone by the end of the night. And so that means you've both maybe had one each, although I was always the one pouring more when nobody's watching, pouring more. My husband, alcohol wasn't it was never an issue for him. Like, he never snuck it, never overindulged. He was a person that could have a beer, come home and have a beer, and that was it. But the wine, he did get into that, and then he didn't like the way it made him feel. I remember he had some sinus issues about it, and so he's kind of stopped drinking the wine. But I kept drinking the wine.
Okay.
And then he would have like his other, it was just whatever he had. It was never, let's have a bottle of this.
Gotcha.
So, and to fast forward, it's so funny because now he's been over a year where he's not even drinking anything either. But that's probably because I haven't been drinking for 3 years. But that's a whole other thing. He just decided. Yeah. It's really great. Yeah. So that decade, 50s to hitting 60, the wine was, by the time I was 57, I was, already easily drinking a bottle a night by myself. And I had realized that I had been using all this time, even from the time I was young, alcohol as numbing throughout life. Any heartbreak, disappointments, overwhelm, just everything that we all have to deal with in life. So the other thing is, when you drink for this amount of years, you need a lot more to even get a buzz.
Yeah.
So it would take me at least, I want to say 3/4 of a bottle to really even feel something I was chasing, you know?
Mm.
And I remember I didn't want my husband to know how much wine I was having. So I would buy, you know, those little, they're really shitty wine, those little boxes.
Yeah, the box. So this is
Not the big one,
oh,
the
you just
little
bought
one.
those little ones. Okay.
Because I wanted to have that before I came home with my bottle of wine. So it would look like I was just opening up my bottle of wine.
Wow. Yeah. So how did this affect your relationship with your husband?
Well, it was an issue because it would come up, you know, you're drinking too much. No, I'm not. That rebel spirit in me was, especially if I had been drinking, was, oh, you think I'm drinking too much? Let me show you how much I can drink. Right? Like, I'll show you. You think that's a lot? No, this is a lot.
Wow.
So it's really interesting, Amy, because for about a year, so I'm going to say when I was about 58, I was really, that inner voice was loud and clear because for about that whole day, this is what's crazy. From about the time I was 40 on, I'd always been very spiritual, following my spiritual teachers, and also trying to eat whole and Tai Chi and yoga and meditation and lots of wine.
Yeah.
So there was something, oh, and I started as an artist. My vibration, my creativity was, the muses, I like to say the muses weren't visiting me as much anymore. And it was making me very sad. I didn't put the two together,
Yeah.
that alcohol was numbing my God-given creative vibrations.
Mm.
Now, you know, Rebecca, that's funny because I always felt, I'll use air quotes that you can't see, felt like, oh, well, maybe if I have a drink or two, that'll loosen me up and I'll get more creative. But I think that also has diminishing returns, right? So, you know, one or two maybe, you know, frees your mind a little bit, but then the third one tanks it, and then the ongoing effects, right? So I always thought, I don't think anymore that that's really the case, but I always kind of thought, oh, well, if I have a couple of drinks, that'll unlock my creativity. It might just unlock bad ideas, I think.
Yeah, I think for many, many years, I believed alcohol made me more creative. I believed that I had to be having some suffering going on to be creatively relevant. It all had to be dark, or it had to come from someplace like that. And so sometimes when I was in a bad place and I would paint and I was 3 sheets, the paintings would reflect very dark energy. But this had gotten to a place where I didn't even want to paint. I didn't even want to create really anymore.
Yeah.
And so,
I remember you talking about that in one of our conversations, that like that love, just it for what you wanted to do, that creativity was just, it kind of just goes away.
yeah, it gets numb.
Yeah.
And I was dealing, I think you know this too, Amy. This is what I talk about when we live, you know, decades of life and we're lucky enough to be alive. Also through those 50s, my father was going downhill. And I was dealing with my mom and her going through all of that. And then all stuff that, you know, sometimes come up from when you're kids, and now you're dealing with, you know, grieving parent, you know, all of that. So, yeah. And so I think I was drinking a lot because of that too at that time. And I think my husband realized that too, and was maybe kind of thinking, you know, it's this time, it's a difficult time. But anyway, I went on a girls' trip to San Miguel de Allende, which is this beautiful colonial city in the middle of Mexico. And we had quite a bit of wine. And I remember on the plane ride home, I must have Googled something around alcohol, or is wine good for you, or how much wine is good for you, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I first learned of Annie Grace. This was in 2019.
Okay.
And I'm sure I was on my second glass of wine on the flight. And what caught my attention was I read something that said, do you want to make alcohol small and irrelevant in life?
Yeah.
And it's like, who talks like this? Yeah, I'd love to. I don't want to quit drinking, was my thought. Uh-huh. Make it small? That sounds pretty good. How do you do that? So I just became so curious and was reading everything about that. And then got home and kind of forgot about it. And 6 months later, because of the drinking, I think I looked her up and I saw this 30-day break thing experiment. Yeah. This was March 2020.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I want to do this. I was really ready to do it. I didn't know that anything like this existed. I'd never heard of her. I'd never heard of This Naked Mind. But what I did know was that I didn't want to be part of any community. I wanted to be anonymous. I told no one, including my husband, that I was taking a 30-day break. I didn't want anybody to know. I don't know why, but it was just that. Maybe I didn't want somebody watching. I don't know.
Sounds familiar. I mean, I get it.
Maybe because we'd done it so much with ourselves and we were afraid of, and then we're really not going to stop drinking.
Yeah.
So about a week in, I remember my husband looked over at me and he said, I noticed you're not having wine at dinner. And I say, yeah, no, I'm taking a break. I'm just doing this thing. And I very downplayed it. And of course, he was probably happy to hear that, so he didn't say much about it. And I loved learning every day. Mm-hmm. And when I aced it, I had no problem. I didn't drink once. I loved it. I loved the way I felt. I got my energy back. I was creative. I thought, this is awesome, man. I'm going to moderate.
Oh, the golden ticket of moderation.
I have that t-shirt.
And you know what? Nothing against that for anyone who does, because I work with people who do, and they're successful at it. And if that's what they want, I'm all for it. But I thought that's what I wanted. I mean, that is what I wanted then. And so I started off with a glass of wine every evening, and that glass turned into 2. By July, so this was March, April, May, June, July, I was drinking a bottle of wine every night. And then there was something big that happened in our family that was devastating. And I took a spiral. And between July and December, it got ugly. Oh, no. And I was drinking almost as if alcohol was its own entity and I was having a fight with it. And it was daring me and I was daring it, if you will.
Yeah. And drinking as much as you could to hurt that, to numb that pain. Yeah. And
what was your husband's response since he saw you cut back and you really stopped drinking, and now you'd kind of rebounded almost back to the norm, back to what you were plus some?
We were in COVID too. COVID had just,
yeah.
And I think, Matt, I was really good at being able to drink a lot and then someone think I was finished for the night. And then maybe they go to bed. And that's what I was doing then. And then I might go and have some more.
Got it. You talk
And
being an entity too. And I find that incredibly interesting, because I really look at it as, now it was its own being that was with me always. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna take my friend to drink, and I'm gonna, oh, this is my buddy now, or this is the person who's gonna console me, or whatever. It's
an energy. It's an energy. And I also look at it, Amy, very much as an abuser or an abusive relationship, the one that keeps making promises and is kind of sexy and is kind of, it'll be okay, you know. And I say that because I used to work in a women's shelter many, many, many years ago. And there's a similarity almost to that. So, December 30th, I knew that was the last night for me. I didn't know how. It wasn't December 31st. It was December 30th. I knew, and so I had already done the 30-day in March. So I knew it's like I'm doing another one in January. Only this time I knew that it was like somewhere inside, it's like, I don't know how, but this has got to be it. And it was, because, you know, then I guess in February, we got the notice about the certification. And then we were all in the March class.
Yes. So what a huge difference from, like, you find in 2020, you do your first one, and then to the next year, then you're actually in the class.
Yeah, not even a year.
I mean, it was just like you signed up, you knew you were going to make a big change in your life.
Yeah. It's a knowing that comes from somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. And we did. We all got together and we had those great talks and we were coaching each other and we were all learning. And
yes. And I was learning then about alcohol. I was learning about how it rewires your brain, how it takes it over, how it gives it false hits of dopamine, and then it has to work double time to get the toxin and the poison out. We don't know any of that when we have our first drink at whatever age. We don't know. I mean, maybe somebody does, but most people don't.
And I see that, you know, you got choked up and get choked up. But I see it, these have to be also tears of freedom.
Yes, absolutely. And not just that, being able to give back. And help other people. And so because I'm a visual artist, I didn't know what I was going to do with my certification, but I knew that I wanted to marry the two together, because I realized that while I was painting all those years, I was also expressing and being able to be in a safe space to, that's like my world. That was, you know, nobody could say, that's the wrong way to express a feeling, you know,
so
through art. So I love doing that for others.
Tell us about you being a creative life coach. And what is that? I'm going to just let you talk, because I love what you do. I love it. I'm going to be in one of your classes. So.
Oh, good. These are fun workshops, you guys, and they develop as they go along. But so a creative life coach, I'm a certified This Naked Mind coach, and I love to say I'm a creative life coach because we are the artists of our life. Our life is our canvas, and we get to make choices. And I think I help women to be creative about their future and about what's possible and about creative ways of forgiving themselves for their past and how to put all those feelings that they have buried deep inside and way, way down there and have never learned to process or even express. I'm still learning to do that. So at these meditative, intuitive watercolor workshops, we use that medium just because it's the easiest to do over Zoom. Sorry, my dog's barking.
Okay.
We just, yeah, it's guided by me and it's about the experience. It's not about, we're going to paint a tree today and this is everybody's tree is going to look like this. No, we are going through exercises and then we paint our feelings. And sometimes they're in shapes and sometimes they're freehand and you end up with beautiful abstract.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I know you've done several.
Yes, the next one is December 16th. You can actually sign up for it now. It's a Saturday. Okay. They're 2 hours long. They start at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so you can zoom in from anywhere if that's meets anytime you're up from anywhere in the world. And you go to my website, Rebecca Guevara Wingler.com. There's a tab there for the virtual watercolor workshops, and it tells you everything you need and how to do it and where to sign up and register and pay and all that. And it's $69 for 2 hours. So it's a great investment in yourself.
And that, I want to say, is real self-care. That is real self-care. It's this whole experience. And I know just from our conversations, how calming and peaceful this will be for people. It is just, I just know it will be.
It really is. And we learn to love ourselves again. We learn to tap into the deeper knowing that we're perfect human beings, just the way we are, as imperfect as we are. And our value is not attached to our behavior, what we've done. That's not our value. And so it's wonderful to express all this creatively. And yeah, and you know, Amy, I hope to even do a retreat in 2024. But if I do, I'll tell you guys more about that.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I mean, there's so many possibilities with this. And I know that I've interviewed and talked to many people who, when we drink, everything gets numbed down, like all of our passions, all of our fun, all of everything, we don't realize it. And then that curiosity, like you were saying, like getting into and the learning, being able, like it was all of a sudden, I just wanted to learn as much as I wanted, you know, I just couldn't get enough. And I still, like, I have probably 8 books on.
Yeah, you're always wanting to learn. I know. I name my company is Curious on Life.
I love it.
And that's because that's what happened to me too, Amy. I wanted to know everything and I'm still super curious. And so the podcast is Curious on Life, the podcast. And we talk a lot about alcohol, but we also talk a lot about on that podcast other things that I'm really, really drawn to, which are ancestors, wisdom, ancient wisdom, social norms for women, aging, you know, and alcohol. And so, yeah, because who would have thought that at this stage and 60 plus, my 6th decade of life, I'm able to do something that I would have never dreamt even possible, to be able to give back and help other people figure out how to kick booze to the curb if that's what they want to do.
I love it. It's amazing. I'm in the same group that you're in. It's called the AF Alumni Group. And I know that you do coaching in there as well. And do you offer one-on-one coaching?
I do. However, I'm not taking any right now. because I'm working on expanding the workshops. I also, my work takes me traveling, so I'm going to be gone, and I will be blogging about it because it's so much fun to travel alcohol free. I've been doing it. I mean, all my life. I was in New York last year for the first time in my adult life. I didn't have alcohol. I had to wait till I was in my 60s to be in New York City and not drink, or I was in Alaska with friends and, showing up, not drinking, and everybody's kind of like, and you're still having fun.
Yeah. Because life's too short.
Yeah.
It's too short. And
I write about it. Yeah. Blog about it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That is awesome. And then you have an event. Is it coming up this?
Yeah, let me talk about this. So like Amy said, we're all part of a tribe, all this Naked Mind coaches.
And all right. And because I know when we air this will have been, but are you guys planning to do this?
Oh, that's right. So we won't talk about, yeah. You know what?
Let's still talk about it.
Okay. So what we're doing, yeah. So I speak Spanish, and Karina Koblock is bilingual in Spanish. She and I met through this Naked Mind coaches, and we really feel driven to reach out to the Hispanic community. So she's of Peruvian background, and I'm of Mexican background. And it doesn't matter, but if you're Spanish speaking, we want to reach out to you too. So we're going to do this AF Fiesta this Friday, October 27th. And we're inviting Spanish speaking people too. If they want to come, please come. So Amy, we will most likely continue to do this for the community and for anyone who wants to come. You don't have to be a Spanish speaker. It'll be in both languages, probably.
I know because I know her, because her and I have gotten, she's been on the podcast, and we've kind of, I feel like we've kind of created a bond there too. And I know that you will do it again. I just know based on you and her that you'll do that. And that I think is amazing. I think this is going to be a terrific space for you to be able to reach, I think, a community that's not been reached out to.
Yeah, or probably not in this way, in this compassion, science-based way. So I hope to do more outreach, more public speaking. My new hashtag is Latinas Who Don't Drink. And I hashtag that everywhere.
Awesome.
And I'm going to create a Facebook group called Latinas Who Don't Drink, because maybe they seem to be kind of shy too. It's not really talked about.
Yeah.
Culturally difficult. So yeah, we want to be very cognizant of that. Yeah. But come one, come all. We welcome you.
I love it, love it, love it. Well, thank you so much for being with us. And
thank you.
I know, as you guys progress through, and if you do end up having, a bigger workshop or an event, I would love to help, promote it. We would love to have you back on. And again, I know if there's anything that we can do for you, I would love to help you out. So I will be putting your December, I think it's December 16th event into my newsletter and everything, so that we'll get that promoted as well for you.
Thank you, Amy. And I can't wait to talk to you soon too.
All right. Well, we will talk to you later. And I love what you're doing out there in the world.
Well, thank you, Rebecca, for being on the Alcohol Free Marriage and More podcast.
Yes.
That was just great.
It was a great
background, great story, a lot of connection points.
There are, and I just want to also just encourage you, if you have not taken that step into your own artistic expression, and you are interested, I would reach out to Rebecca, because she offers the virtual intuitive watercolor workshops, and she helps others find freedom from alcohol with that one-on-one and group coaching along with that. And so you can find her at Rebecca Guevara Wingler.com. And we will go ahead. And also, I want to just say, I'm going to be on her podcast, her Curious on Life podcast.
Cool.
And so I'm very excited. And at the time of this being released tomorrow,
yes,
I'm going to be interviewing with her tomorrow. So I'm not sure when that will be going, but
Just in Time Publishing.
Again, thank you so much.
Yes. All right. Well, that's it for us for this week, kids. Thank you for joining us on the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. Check us out next week for another interview or just some fun ramblings from Coach Amy and I. You never know what you're going to get here. Wishing you peace and love from the cornfields. I am Matt, along with Coach Amy, and we are
out.